Our readings this morning come from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 13, verses 10 through 17, and from the Gospel of Thomas, saying 88. From Matthew. When the disciples came to Jesus, they asked, "Why do you speak to the people in parables?" Jesus answered, "The secrets of the kingdom of heaven are for you to know, but not for them. To those who have, more will be given until they have an abundance. Those who have not will lose what little they have. I use parables when I speak to the people because they look but don't see. They listen but don't hear or understand. Isaiah's prophecy is being fulfilled in them, which says, you will be ever listening but never understanding. You'll be ever looking but never perceiving. For this people's heart has become calloused. They hardly hear with their ears, and they've closed their eyes. Otherwise, they might see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their hearts and turn back to me, and I would heal them. But blessed are your eyes because they see, and your ears because they hear. The truth is, many prophets and holy people long to see what you see, but never saw it, to hear what you hear, but never heard it." Saying 88 of the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus said, "The angels and the prophets will come to you and give to you those things you already have. And you too will give them those things which you have and say to yourselves, when will they come and take what is theirs?" Ancient words from our increasing tradition for our present day understanding.
Do you ever wish that religious people would just come out and say what they mean? I know that's a frustration. And sometimes people are just trying to disguise ignorance with the way religion is shaped. But there's also something else going on. And so our scripture today has the disciples asking the same question. Jesus, why don't you just come out and say what you mean? Just say it in ordinary language. The verse today is kind of torturous. It goes, whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. And then in the Gospel of Thomas, it says that the angels and the prophets will come and give you what you already have. Okay, that's interesting, right? Very strange. The parables occur for two reasons that I know of. Probably lots of other reasons, but one of the things that we have to remember is that the people in Israel at this time of history are colonized. And so when Jesus is going to talk about what Isaiah said, that's a very political message, but you can't come out and say it. Right? You can't talk about liberation of the people and live very long. And we've seen that sadly through history. So one of the reasons is so that you can give the message to people that have ears to hear. That's usually people that are raised in Judaism, because they're going to quote and use the Jewish scriptures all over the place, which the Romans aren't going to catch. Right? But the people are going to hear a word of hope in their situation. A reason that affects us even more now is that there are lots of things that are right in front of us that we can't see, hear, touch. We get caught in habits of thought, and religion is, for some people, that's all it is what you believe, what you've been taught. Rehearse what you believe, say the creed and repeat it, and that'll keep you safe. Well, it may keep you safe, but it won't make other people safe from you if you do that. And it also won't make you very smart. So, one of the reasons why spiritual teachers have to speak in riddles and parables like Jesus did, and like Buddha did, and like so many great teachers through the ages have, is that we're in a trance and we don't know it. We're in a cultural trance. We can't see the arrogance of our nation. We can't see the arrogance of classism and all of the privileges that we have, those are invisible to us. And so the teacher that's going to teach us loving justice has got to work around the defenses that we have. And that's a lot of what the parables are trying to do. One of the huge challenges we have as a species is that we're evolving. And a Christianity that denies evolution becomes the problem that you can't really work around. We are changing, we're evolving, which means mystery has to be a part of our lives. Yesterday's answer becomes a lie today. If not today, tomorrow. That what Jesus is teaching is not dogma or belief, but awareness. That's what Buddha is teaching. That's what all the teachers of love are doing. Because belief is a far cry from love. So what Jesus is doing with the parables, the reason he has to teach in riddles is to get us thinking and feeling. He's not trying to give you something you don't have, and that's the key to this parable. Right? It's not that you're empty-headed. It's that sometimes you and I can't see what's in front of us. We can't feel it. So it's not giving us something we don't have. It's awakening us to who we really are and trying to get the engines going where we can see that. Because we are evolving, that means we're changing. But we want to be permanent. We want truth to be permanent. And that is a fatal mistake. Also, we're interconnected with other people, with other species. And so our definitions as human beings become the problem. We're not able to see our kinship with other species. So what the parables are doing is not trying to give us something we don't have. Again, they're trying to take away what we're pretending to be so we can't be what we are. Loren Eiseley, we talked about him today in class. I love Loren Eiseley. He wrote a long time ago, but he was a scientist and a mystic, in my opinion. So he didn't believe in traditional religion, but he spoke in a mystical frame that both applauded science, but also put us in touch with the mystery, the unfolding mystery of life. Listen to this. See if this doesn't sound pretty dang mystical. Again, he's talking about our evolving species. He goes, we are rag dolls made out of many ages and skins, changelings who have slept in wood nests and hissed in the uncouth guise of waddling amphibians. We have played such roles for infinitely longer ages than we have been human. Our identity is a dream. We are process, not reality. See, it's in the unfolding. It's in living. It's in growing and in changing that we find security, not in holding on to what used to be certainties of things. We as a species are in a very strange situation where we're worried so much about identity theft, but we don't know who we are. You know what I'm saying? In terms of social media, we're terrified of having our identity stolen. But in terms of the planet, in terms of our own hearts, a lot of times we have no idea what's going on in there. Again, this is Eiseley. We are one of many of the appearances of the thing called life. We are not its perfect image, for it has no perfect image except life with a capital L. And life is multitudinous and emergent in the stream of time. That, I think, is as mystic as it gets. Right? Life is a crazy, shape-shifting symphony, and we're one strand of the music. This planet was not created for us. Right? I mean, that may be uncomfortable, but we have to understand that we are a branch, a little bitty branch on the tree of life. Insanity means getting around the idea that this is all about us. I think of Mr. Potato Head as a good example of somebody with identity issues. I mean, if you're Mr. Potato Head, or Ms. Potato Head for that matter, that's like you'd have the fake nose, the fake mustache, the fake eyes, the ears, the hat. But you'd really just be a potato, right? But really, Mr. Potato Head has it easy because it's much more complicated in our world. We're told all these things that we are. All these roles that we're supposed to play. All these ridiculous religious beliefs. That if we believe them, they shut down our intelligence and our heart. And really, we're just human. What our passage today is saying, that's exactly what you need to be. Trying to be certain keeps you from being what you really are. Trying to be right all the time keeps you from being, you are ambiguous. That's your nature. That's your creativity. That's your evolving nature. When we become ashamed of uncertainty and confusion and the mixture of all the things we are, when we're made ashamed of that, the creativity can't happen. So Jesus is saying, if an angel could come down to earth, that angel would take away what you're not and give you what you are. It sounds paradoxical, but when you think about it, that's exactly what we need. We've been stuffed with all kinds of stuff. Religion is like tuna helper, right? And you're just tuna. That's all you are, and it's okay. And it's not that the religious teachers weren't trying to help. They were trying to help. But the world that they were talking about no longer exists, if it ever did. So what the parables of Jesus and Buddha and all the great lovers of humankind are doing is to shake our certainty and to make it okay with just being human. To see yourself as a soil out of which the miracle is going to happen. If you weren't ambiguous, it couldn't happen. If you didn't make mistakes, it couldn't happen. Right? It's an unfolding story. And perfection is not an option. So to realize what was really yours is changing all the time. It's a mystery. It's the river of life. That's who you truly are. But it's also the common life. So all the definitions that would separate us are a terrible mistake. Jesus is saying that if an angel could come into our world, the best gift would be to take away the things that we don't really have. We think we have them. We've been taught we have them. But we don't. They're things we don't know. They're things we can't do. And then to make that okay. To affirm who we are. The Sufis do this so well. The Sufis say it's not just about the words. You have to dance it. Until you can feel it in your heart. Until you're moving out of it. It's not really true for you. This is Kabir. This is one of my favorite Sufis. They talk about God. They have like 10,000 names. But what they're talking about is that quality inside us. It's not really a noun. It's more of a adverb that we're living in. So they sometimes call it the lover, sometimes call it the friend. But what they don't do is do the little slide rule where you measure out exactly God is two natures and has this and does that. There's three persons, and it's a mystery. So here's Kabir. I talk to my inner lover, and I say, why such rush? We sense that there is some spirit that loves birds and animals and ants. Perhaps the same one who gave a radiance to you in your mother's womb. Is it logical you would be walking around entirely orphaned now? The truth is you turned away yourself and decided to go into the dark alone. Now you are tangled up in others and have forgotten what you once knew. And that's why everything you do has some weird sense of failure in it. That's a little bit of a downer, but when you realize that's what is going to be taken away from us, it's a very hopeful thing. Because it's what we're faking that's hurting us. The true humanity that we're ashamed of is the cradle of the future. You have to honor it. You have to reverence it. To not sit in judgment of it. Another Sufi saying, Rumi, that you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. And this is the difference between mystical and non-mystical thinking when it comes to universality. To realize you are the cosmos in personal form. You're not a frightened little mammal with no connections to the rest of life. You're one expression of the shape-shifting river of life. And the more that you center yourself in that changing interconnectedness, the safer you're going to feel, even in frightening times. I say it from time to time, but I think it's really important that the Jewish notion of spirit is very different from the Greek notion. And the Greek is the one we inherited as Christians, and it makes us crazy. The Greek notion is like Casper the ghost that inhabits things. Sort of a, supernatural being. The Jewish notion, the word spirit, it means breath, it means wind, it means interconnectedness, inner being. So it's our most personal moment, and it's also the most universal. It's bringing together a holiness, a sacredness that's in the depths of our being, in the depths of who we are. It's not something that we don't have that somebody else gives us. If our teachers, they strip away everything else that we're trying to get at and lead us back to that sacred ambiguity. Jesus spoke in parables because he wasn't talking about facts. He's not talking about things that are true if you're not there. These are things that are born out of your life, out of your heart, out of your creativity. So he can't finish the picture until you're here. Instead of giving answers, it's questions. And it drives us crazy. But there's a sense in which we're already crazy. And somebody has to drive us back home to our own heart. So we look out through our own eyes. And that's what Jesus, I think, is doing. To realize that you are your greatest work of art. Your life, your word, this day, the next day. To honor who you are as an imperfect, ambiguous human being. As the cradle out of which this miracle is born. To know that you are enough. That you do not have to be more. You cannot be more. And it wouldn't happen if you were more. If you knew the answers, you couldn't create the new. That would belong to a dead generation. Where you're being called to is mysterious. And it's not going to happen until you're there anyway. So you can't get the final spoiler alert. When you live out of that profound ambiguity, there is a joy, a confidence, a faithfulness that steers you through the chaos, through the mystery, through it all. Because you know you're coming from the river of life. You're not the whole story, but you don't have to be. You're a beloved part of the beloved community. I want to close with two quotes. One is from the scientist, Lauren Isley, and the other is from a Hindu mystic. And they're saying the same thing from other ends of the bridge. I'm suggesting that this is a bridge that Christianity sorely needs to build between the mystic and the scientific. Here's the scientist. We creatures called human have a strange history. We are not of one piece, nor were we born of a single moment in time. Our elementary substance is stardust, almost as old as the universe. The mystic. The rich build temples to Shiva. What shall I, a poor man, do? Oh my God, my legs are the pillars, my torso the shrine, and my head the golden pinnacle. Things standing shall fall, but the moving shall ever stay. I leave you to contemplate those strange words.